Hey there, I'm Craig Deal from Deal's Metal and Statesville Truss. This is my dad, Sammy Deal. Today we're going to be showing how simple it is to put together a 9x12 A-frame storage shed. We got different styles and sizes available as well, but this is the one we're going to be putting together today. The first step is trying to find the runners. They're 12 foot long. They'll be pre-assembled in the package. Find them, get them laid out, and then you'll get your blocks. We recommend using cap blocks. You'll set your cap blocks where you want your building at. You'll come back 3 foot from each end on both runners, and you'll go roughly 6 foot apart. And your cap blocks will be 6 foot apart this way and 6 foot apart widthways. But that'll be your first step. But since we're building on a concrete pad, we're going to leave that step out. But we will have all that in our detailed drawings on our how-to guide on our paper. But this is the first step of it. Okay, now we went ahead and shot the gable end up. It's the one that's got the T in it. That way you have support to screw the metal to, and you'll have a solid structure on the outside. But we just took and we went ahead and shot this side. We took and measured over 14 inches from the end to right there, and we made the runner flush that mark on the outside. We done both the same, and now I'm going to shoot this end over here. You can see my 14-inch mark there. Just tap it over a little bit till you get it on the mark. Put your safety glasses on. Shoot that side. And do the same over here. Make it runner over to you on your 14-inch mark. And shoot it. And that's it. We recommend shooting it 2 to 3 times. Okay, the next step after you get the two gable end, the one with the door in it and the gable end panel in there, the next step is getting it square. Just make sure you measure to the same spot. I'm going to measure to the outside edge, and Daddy's going to do the same there. We got 173 3/4 on this end. And we got 175 1/2 on this end. So I'm going to get Daddy to hold his foot on that end. I'm going to kick his end up a little bit to try to get closer. Okay. 174 3/4. I'm within a 1/16 of an inch. I'll bump it that way just a touch more, and I think that'll do it. Quick cut. Okay, the next step is putting the other panels in. When you're 16 on center, you will skip 2 spaces, and then your 3rd space will be the panel. When you go 2 foot center, it'll just be every other panel. Every other space will be a panel, and then I'll show you how to put the floor joist in later. But the panel sit on 4 foot center, and your floor joist sits on either 16 on center or 2 foot on center. But this one here is 16 on center. I've got a string up here on the outside edge. I got it pulled up, and we're just going to take and bump this panel to the string and nail it in place. All right, come to me. Just a hair. There. Alright. I left it about a 30 seconds off the string so you don't get on the string, and then your next one will be off, but it's right there against it. I put 2 nails on each side, or how many ever you want to put, but I'd recommend putting 2 on each side and go to the other side and put 2 on this side. Alright, good. Okay, the next step is putting the floor joist in between the panels. I got the string still up from when we was setting the panels. They need to be 4 1/4 inch off the string. Good. Yep. Just shoot them in place. 2 on each side. Okay, the next step is putting these blocks in between it to have the plywood something to nail to, and also to kill the space off at the end. The end blocks measure 45 3/4, then the ones in the center measures 46 1/2. The first block, if you can see it, first block goes in like this. You just nail it to the floor joist first with 2 nails. You'll fasten them at the end. I can tell you. Flush. Fasten on the other end. Shoot there. Alright. And then the next 2 before will sit on top of there. Next 2 before will sit on top of that one. Pull the void off at the end, and it'll be flush with the outside edge. And it's yeah. Put a few nails on the top side to hold it steady, and then shoot a few in the end there. Like he's going. Here, I can tell. And just shoot both ends. Okay, we completed putting the 2 blocks on all the ends. We done the 45 3/4. And we done the 46 1/2. We got everything nailed down and shot down, and it's ready to go to the next stage. You can, if you have a problem, it's a little hard toe nailing them things in there. If you have a problem working around them plates, you can use screws. Run screws in there, and that may help you out some too. Okay, the next stage is putting the stripping boards in, or the purlines. We're going to put the first board flush with the bottom of the 2 before, and everything's pre-cut. We're just going to hold it to the outside edge. The dimension on the building 12 foot, and the board's cut 12 foot. So I'm just going to hold it flush to the bottom. Shoot it. Okay, the next part, we've got our bottom 2 before shot up with flush with the bottom of the board. The next step is we're going to mark the stripping boards. Since everything's cut precise, if you get everything right on layoff at the bottom, because everything's fast together at the bottom, you can push and pull these top panels and get everything right. Just make sure your 2 before is flush with the edge. And just put it on that ledge and just make a mark on both sides of 2 befores. That way you'll be right on layoff. Alright.
Alright, all we're trying to do now is get these purlins even with our first purlins. So front and back purlins. All you do is make you a mark on that, and then you can just take and put them right down through there.
Okay, now we're going to shoot them in place. We're just going to put it flush the outside edge. and on the mark. Then come to the other side and push and pull it. That's the way it's exactly 12 foot. Now we're going to go on the inside, put these inside panels on these marks. He's going to push and pull it to where we're right on that.
All right.
Good?
Yep. I never thought it'd be.
Okay, now we're going to shoot the one at the top. We're going to have it flush to the bottom of that board and flush the outside edge. Once again, we're going to shoot both ends. And then get our marks right.
All right. All right, good.
And that's all the walls now. We're going to actually put the plywood on next, so we can set a ladder up and we can do the same, putting the purlins for the roof. Okay, putting the plywood down is our next step. He's making a mark on each side of the door. There's only 3 places you have to cut out on the plywood. This is actually the only cut required on these buildings. And he's going to come back 2x4 width. That way the plywood will be flush on the front edge here. And he's marking the other side. And he's going to cut that out. We're going to cut that out and slide it back and shoot it down. Okay, now we've got the piece of plywood cut. We're going to slide it in place. Get it on flush on the outside.
Yeah, just take a kick one time. Good. That's good.
All right. That's good. And then we're going to shoot it in place. We've got that runner all the way across, so you can shoot it all the way down the edge. Okay, the next step is cutting the plywood around this center post here. He's just going to take and make a mark on each side of the post. And he's going to take a 2x4 on the back side and make the mark across, so the plywood will be flush on the outside edge when he gets done. Exactly 12 foot from bottom side to bottom side, the plywood will work out outside the outside edge. We got the plywood cut out that center post back here. Now we're just going to put it in place.
Need to kick it your way?
Yeah, a little bit. That's good. Good. All right, and shoot it down. Alright, the next thing is putting the purlins on the roof. We've already got the other side put on, but just hold it flush with the outside of this board and flush with the 2 ends. I'll put 2 nails in the end, and you can put 2 nailing that other purlin together if you want to. Make sure you get 2 in the truss. We had them marks, and they can't go nowhere because this one, but it's on layout.
Still good?
Yeah. There you go. You want me to push and pull it? Or
No, that's
pretty good. Okay, the next step is putting the one up there close to the ridge cap. You have to drop down 3.5 inches from the very peak up there. We're just taking a 2x4. We got it lined up with the top of the peak. Just make your mark on on all sections. You got a mark?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. It'll just slide it down to the board to the top of your mark, so it'll be down exactly 3.5 inches. And then shoot it in place. Okay, the next step is finding the center distance between the top stripping board and the bottom one, which is 20 1/4. Just measure and split the difference, and I got a mark here. I'm just gonna put it on the flush on the outside edge, put it on a mark and shoot it. And there's really no use in, we've got the marks on the bottom, but there's really no use in push and pull it because we got it fastened there and it's right there. It only can get off but so much. Okay, this is the finished product. And we got all our stripping boards on, all our girts is in place, everything's ready to put metal on, everything's good, secure, and plumb, and we're ready to put the roof on next. Alright, the next step is putting on the vapor barrier on the roof. That way the building don't condensate. Help keep the critters out as well. We just make the vapor barrier flush with the outside edge. Are you good over there?
Yeah.
He's got his side tacked. You got both yours?
No, I just got one side. Go ahead and tack your front corner. I'll pull it tight.
Just get you some tacks and pull it tight. Okay, now we're going to put the second piece on. We're going to lap this edge on that mark right there. I'm going to let him get his side tacked first. And I'm just going to pull it tight and hold it flush. Drive our screws. Okay, now we're on the end, and I'm just going to make this flush the other outside edge. This piece is going to be overlapping, it looks like it's overlapping about 3 foot or so. I'm just going to pull it tight and tack it. Okay, the next step is putting the metal on. We're going to have about a 3.5 inch overhang, and I want to make a 5 inch mark so our screws will be in the center of the 2x4 up there. The overlap side, we're going to start on the side where the ladder is over here. And we're going to, the overlap side goes on the end. So I'm just going to make a 5 inch mark on every rib through here. I'll just make a little dot. 5 inches. So the screws will be straight. Right? Now, the next step is putting the metal on. We got the 5 inch mark at the bottom where the screws will be in the center of the board down there. You try to get it flush with the edge, which we got it real close here, and then make a 3.5 inch mark on the bottom. Go ahead and see if it's 3.5 on both sides. Pretty close. You got that panic? Yeah, we got you. I get it.
he's going to pin the bottom, and then I'm going to take and screw the top. We always put a line at the bottom and a line at the top, and then we'll come back on this center 2x4 and we'll pop us a chalk line so the screws will always be good and straight.
You have to. I can't get my screw to go in there.
Alright, the panel has got an underlap and overlap side right here with the bearing leg right there. It's called the underlap. You start on the gable end with the overlap, as you can see right there. That's the overlap side. And you start with that side, and the overlap side is going to go over top of the underlap. And when you put the screws down, you good on your side? It's flush. When you put the screws down, you put the screw down right there beside the overlap side. You can see right there between the high rib and expansion joint. Just aim for right there in the center. And this right here will be holding down over top of the underlap. And then just put them the same place every time. And I'm going to come back over here, and this right here's
Can you push that away from me a little bit?
binding the overlap down to the underlap. I need to push over a little bit.
Yeah.
He's just getting on the 3.5 inch mark down there. You good?
Back up to 10. Oh, that's good right there.
Okay, go ahead and pin your side.
Tell me you can cheat it back and forth.
Yeah, he's getting the 3.5 inch mark right on the bottom. Sometimes you got to push and pull a little bit to get it exactly right. We knew the 3.5 was right on this side from the previous sheet, but he just had me cheat the sheet over a little bit to get the 3.5 on the other side. And now all I gotta do is just kick this over a little bit, which is fitting up good, and just put the screw right there on top of the metal to pin it down over top of the underlap. Alright, the next step before you put the door in is putting this door pan on there. The only thing its purpose is to cover the raw wood. The metal will cover the raw wood the rest of the way around the building. But it's a little long. I'm just going to put it up there, mark where the door opening goes, and cut it, let the excess hang over on each side. Alright, after you get the piece cut, just put a few screws in it to hold it in place. Always just put one on each side to be enough to hold it in place. Okay, the next step is putting the door in it. We went ahead and installed the doorknob. It's just a standard, it's just got 2 screws in it. We went ahead and put that in place. But it just slides right into the frame. And my dad's in there, he's getting the spaces equal on it. You good? I think it'll work. Alright. All the cracks on that's good. They really don't get out of place too bad. And just you don't have to fill it all full of screws, but I would go maybe every 2 screws or so will be fine to hold it in there. Okay, the next step is putting a piece of drip edge all the way around the bottom, so when you get your side metal on, if the panels get shifted a little bit or whatever, it just covers the raw edge of the wood. We've got the marks here. We're just cutting out. We're cutting out here where the runners is at. We just got us a mark. I'll just take it, cut it on both sides of the mark. And then the easiest way to do it is take a razor knife and score it. And just fold it and it'll break right out of there. Alright. We're just going to put that in place and tack it.
You got tack. Okay, the next step is getting the holes bored for the wall panels. We got 4 laid off in 2 piles. We start running the roof metal from the back side to the front. It don't make no difference, but which side you run it from, but you need to run the roof and the walls the same way. We're going to start on this end. It'll be the overlap side starting here, running yonder ways. And we're going to go, well, we'll start from the top. We're going to go 3 inches for the top run of screws, 45 for the middle, and we'll go 83 for the bottom, and that'll be the holes we got to bore for. Okay, now I've got my 4 panels laid out. You take a hammer and just peck the end of them to make sure that they're all lined up, which they are here. And the overlap side is going to start back in the corner we was just at, and I've got them all laid out. I've got all my 3-inch mark made. They're you start off right here on your overlap side, the one that don't have the leg on it. I've got all my 3-inch marks made. I've got them all on the same side of the rib. And then the next one I had was 45. I've got them all laid out the same way where the screws go. And then the next one, the bottom run, was 83. I got all them laid out. You always start against the overlap side. Just put the screws like so. And then you just take and get you a small drill bit. This one right here's, I believe, a 3/16. Just get the size of the screw. Make sure it's no bigger than the size of the screw. We recommend boring the sides, but we don't recommend boring the roof. But I just got a small drill bit. I'm gonna bore the holes here. I'm just gonna guess in the center of the metal where the screws go. Start boring the holes.
There, looks good right there.
Okay, we're going to be putting our first piece of metal up. We're just lining them up with these top ribs up here. That's why I was saying we need to run them the same way as the roof panels was run. You all the way against there? Good. Just put a level on it, make sure it's plumb.
All right.
Alright, on the second piece, long as your overlap fits up good, it should be plumb. And you can still check it if you want to. Just make sure it's all the way against the roof and put some screws in it. And I'm just going to put screws in the top. I'm going to put screws in the middle run, and later I'm going to come back and put the screws in the bottom run when I put my base trim in. What was it, 30, 45, and 83? It's rough down on that.
Yep, 345.
Okay, the next step is cutting the J channel. We've already got these cut. They're just come a little bit longer than what measurement they are. But just make it flush with the bottom of the board down there, and that way they're flush with the top there. Alright, now we're going to measure for the top. I'm just going to slide over here to the end of the J, and we're going to have to cut it just like, yeah, this J is wider, that way it'll give a little coverage for the door, kind of like a gutter, serves for a J too.
We tell them how we measured it.
Okay, now we just took the piece up there and we marked it. We got it cut from outside to outside, and we just made a mark right there on the face side. And we cut it, and we just bend them little lips down on each side. You can see, and then it just slides up there in the track. And it covers. Okay, now we're going to put the metal on the front side. Like the sides, I don't recommend board them like we did the sides. We just put the metal up there and screw as we go along. And since we're having to cut everything, you can get them off just a little bit. But we just put the panel in the center of the building. We got it lined up here in the center of the truss, the center rib, and we're just going to make a mark on the back side. And then we're going to take and cut it. You got yours marked? Yeah. Okay. Now after we got the panel cut, it's not exact, but you're going to have your rake trim covering the air spaces. But just take and put the center rib into the center of the truss there, and then put some screws in it in the top. Okay, now I'm going to measure the next panel here on the gable end. I'm going to measure from the center rib over to there, and I'm going to have to cut out an inch from the center over, which will be a full rib. Yeah, it'll be a full rib. And then we measured what this side over here is running to the bottom, because we need to continue this the same height all the way around. And that's 1.25 inches from there to the bottom. We made us 1.25 inch mark, and then we held the tape measure on that mark and measured up, and we're going to have to cut out 75.5. And I'll show you how we got it laid out over here, how to cut it. The panel's going to be flipped up just like that. That's the part that's going to be left in. Of course, we'll have to cut it down the gable end here in a minute. But we came from the bottom up 75.5, made us a mark, and we're going to cut that all the way across the rib. And now we're going to take and score it. You can take a razor knife and score it up that line through there like he's doing, and be able to break it out of there. Be careful when you're doing this. And then just fold it over and it should break out of there. Here it's breaking. Okay, we've got the panel cut. We've got it down there at the bottom. We got it on the 1.25 inch marks that'll line up with the side panel. He got it plumb now? Yep. He's got it plumb. Usually I just take and screw the top because there's going to be a piece of rake trim up there to cover the screws. I always like getting the screws get straight as possible. And we had to cut the end rib off. If the rib's hanging over the ends of the metal 1 inch or so, you're going to have to cut them off. Usually these builds you have to cut the rib off on each side. Okay, now we're on the back side. Once again, we take the center rib and line it up in the center of the truss right there. And we've got it plumb, and we matched ends with the sides. We came up 1.25 inches is the way the sides and the gable ends been running high, so you try to match all the heights up on the bottom there. And I'm just going to cut up here so we can put the rake trim on. It may be easier to cut it on the ground, but I do like it.
like this. Whichever way is easier for you. You can mark it on the ground, or you can pan it up and cut it once on the roof. Alright, on the next side, you just get the overlap right, you get the height on the bottom right, make sure it's lined up with the other one. Good?
Yep.
Alright, you got the height right. I'm just going to take and pin it. Yeah. Thought I was going to. Okay, the next step after you get all the metal on is putting the base trim on. I'm just taking and marking an inch on the top side. This is the part that goes underneath. It don't have a hem. That's the part that sits on the bottom. It's got a hem on it. I'm just going to take and notch a piece out right there. Should just be able to just fold it around there and break it off. And then just slide it underneath the panels. And I just pull that right there at the end, and that's going to lap over an inch, and then the next part's going to sit on top of it. Screws we stick in the bottom is going to be the same screws that hold this piece in place, and that's going to keep the critters and everything from getting in there, and it just makes the build look better. Okay, the next step is putting the corners on. I'm just going to measure what it is from down there at the base all the way to the top of the metal. Looks like it's 83 3/4. Just measure, cut it square, and then install it. Alright, after you cut it, you put it up there. I like putting the factory in up there at the top, that way you don't see the cut on it. Just put the factory cut up there, fit it tight against the metal up there, and when you go to screw it, sight both sides square. Make sure that side's running square with the build on the other side. And after you get it on there, you should be able to follow a rib up the corner to get the rest of it. Okay, the next step is putting the rake trim on. The rake trim in the corners has been exactly the same, rake and corners, but when you put them on the roof, I always call them rake. But this side over here already got screwed in place. You can cut it with speed square on a 312, or you can take a little torpedo level. We just took a torpedo level, held on there plumb, and got the cut on it. You'll cut this cut to the center of the rib and just cut it up plumb. And when you slide the other one in place, they'll fit up nice and snug like so. Then screw it down. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do, we're going to put the ridge cap on. I just fold the ridge cap over where there won't be no crack up there. I'm going to mark 2 inch in the center, 2 inch on each end. Take a square the ends. Then I'm going to take and cut these little lips out. I'm going to cut all the way to that final crease. I'm going to cut that part out.
same on the other side. I'm going to take and cut the center to that mark. Now all I'm going to do is take and fold this over. That way you won't have no gap up there in your ridge cap. It'll make sense here in a minute. Just like so. Okay, the next step is installing the ridge cap. You'll just line the center up with the center of the rake trim. You can see how that fits flush with the rake trim. I'll just put one pin in it to get it in place. And then make sure the other end is in the center as well. I'm just going to sight it to where it's going to end up with the other center of the rake trim. And after you get that done, you can go ahead and pin both sides. And finish screwing it down, and then just stick the other piece on the other side and screw everything down. Alright, the next step is we've got all the metal ran across there. We kept a check on it, make sure it was 3.5 inches overhang on each side of the metal to keep it square through there. We just took and pinned the bottom and pinned the top. The top we don't pull a string on because the ridge cap's going to be covering it. It don't matter if them screws is not exactly straight. But what we take and do is we take a chalk line and we mark the center of the 2x4 on each side. And we just come back and pop a chalk line. So we'll have a reference line to keep our screws straight on the middle as well. Then we'll screw it down.